If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
So the session today would be like, we'll do a quick recap, 10-15 minutes in the recap. Then we will see some of the homeworks that was given to individuals, and then we'll start with the next steps. Okay. Right. Okay. So what we covered yesterday is basically introduction of supply chain planning in general, because whenever we want to learn a specific module, a specific technology, planning happens. Okay. And that end-to-end means, how does the demand comes, how do we get the requirements from our vendor, then how do you produce it, right? Now before production, even how do you procure it or distribute it, and then produce it, and then also you procure the raw materials from your vendors and sell the items to the customers and so on. Okay. So let me open up my notes. Yeah. So basically, what we learned yesterday is, what does end-to-end planning means? End-to-end supply chain planning means. Okay, so it consists of multiple modules, right? You would do some sort of demand planning out there, then you would do your network planning out there, you would do your enterprise resource planning or material requirement planning. After that, you would do the production planning, and finally, you would be getting into the details of scheduling. Okay, so I'll quickly go through that diagram because I think we cover up most of the things under that diagram. This one. Yeah. Okay. So what happens in a typical supply chain planning flow? Okay, wherever there is PPDS system. Okay, so whatever I talk from here on till for next 10 days or so, working days or so, we would be focusing or concentrating around PPDS. So PPDS or detailed scheduling part is the central pivot point, and rest of the things are peripheral supporting modules that are helping PPDS to do a perfect scheduling. Okay, so you should know about this particular flow. It's a very typical PPDS system design that would have. I'm not saying this is the only possibility. There are multiple numerous possibilities, and depending upon type of customer that you have, the type of business line that he has, whether it's a process industry, discrete industry, whether it is a distribution industry, whatnot. Okay, there could be multiple steps. Design characteristics. But once you understand the basic fundamentals, then you can very well design. Okay, so what happens in a typical supply chain planning system focusing on the PPDS as a central pivot is, on one side, or everything is centered around one system called as the execution system. We would call it as, not call, but it could be either ECC or S4HANA. Focusing here. Okay, the execution system could be ECC or S4HANA. You need to have an execution system. What we do under PPDS or APO or IBP, that's all planning. That's not execution. Correct. So I am a supply chain planning consultant, so I should not say it is not always necessary to have in planning systems. But as the world is progressing more and more, right, when there is the need of faster supply chains, the planning systems are gaining more and more important, especially after the COVID thing. A lot of companies have started digitizing their supply chains. So those systems are getting more and more importance now. However, none of the planning system can do anything unless there is an execution system at the pivot. So you will always see most of the projects have either ECC or S4HANA. There are some other systems also like Oracle Fusion and other ERP systems that are there. If you have heard about Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle Fusion, and there is one more, the Panasonic owned system, I forgot the name, JDA Edwards, that is purchased by Panasonic. You would come across numerous as such systems. Okay, so that's your, first of all, that's your execution system. Okay, now when we think about supply chain planning in general, then we have to think about a very long term planning. Correct. Execution is like today what I'm going to do, I need to do this, I need to convert the purchase order to execution order, and so on. So that's a different case. But when we think about the planning, so planning usually you do for a very long time horizon. Okay, especially supply chain planning. Why? Because you are sitting somewhere in America, you have a factory in USA, right? And you have supplier in China. So the Chinese supplier takes 2 months to manufacture and 4 months to ship, because via shipping it takes around 4 months. So 4 months of shipping plus 2 months of manufacturing, it is 6 months. So if you want to purchase the raw material from a Chinese supplier, you have to give him order at least 6 months in advance, then and then you are able to produce on time. You agree to me? Do you agree to me with this?
Yes.
Guys, please, right? The new guys, especially Javed, uh, sorry, yeah, Akib, Javed, Urmila, do you understand this? Are you guys able to follow us?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. So because around 6 months or so lead time is involved, and see, I will be using this supply chain terminologies from time to time. Since it is a repetition, I may not be able to explain in detail, but if in case it is not clear to you, please pinpoint to me. And just one advice I want to give at this moment: if you want to be a great, I would say great consultant, great, it means you want to differentiate yourself from rest of the pool of consultants. If you want to win over the customers, then start using the typical technical terminologies whenever you speak to the customer, whenever you discuss. So, okay, time required to travel is one thing, but the lead time, transportation lead time, manufacturing lead time, these are the right words. They are there in the Bible of supply chain planning. Okay, so when you say you transport something from China to America, that is the transportation lead time of 4 months. When you say you manufacture something in the factory of the raw material, it's a manufacturing lead time, correct? And overall 6 months is the plant delivery time of that material, correct? So 4 months plus 2 months is 6 months, and that is the plant delivery time. It means that, okay, I want to procure this material from some customer, then I have a plant delivery time of 6 months. So start using these terminologies. We would be seeing them. My concept is the bombardment, continuous bombardment of the keywords on your ears. Then that would be actually very firm. Your mind mapping would happen very strongly, because now I'm talking about it. Just after this introduction, we are going to go and check the master data part of it. So while we are in the master data, we'll see where do these are maintained, and these are the common terminologies. Fine. So considering that 6 months of plant delivery time of all the raw materials, you need to plan way in advance. Okay, so because you are planning, so today you're sitting, you need to put the order at least 6 months in advance. So you need to give him advance notice, right? For that purpose, because of the longer lead times, you have to plan at least 2 years or 3 years in advance, so that you can take informed decisions. You means your planning team can take informed decisions. For that purpose, you do not have any sales order, right? Because since you want to plan for some demand which is available in January 2024, it is not even 24, June 2024, of almost after 1 year. So you do not have a sales order that, okay, I need some sort of demand in June 2024. So that for that demand, I need to place an order to the vendor, which he should submit to me at least by January 2024. Correct. So it is like this. Let me go in here, and I will talk about this diagram also in brief very shortly. But this is I mean, just focus on this part. Okay. And for that, I'll remove the extra distractions from the screen. Okay, so this diagram talks about, initially we are in the days. Okay, then we start with the weeks. So week 3 onwards still, and somewhere week 6 it is in the weeks. After that it goes in the months, month 12, and then for next year it goes in the quarters. Okay, so I'm planning at a very high level. Okay, so this is your planning horizon, and since all of you are from APO background, you would understand that what this horizon, or what does this time phases mean. Like somewhere I'm in the days, in the weeks, in the months, and in the quarter. Okay, but for example, you're going to uh, sorry, 6 months of plant delivery time is there, correct? So you want to already plan for the month 12. So you need to know a sales order of month number 4, sorry, not month 12, month number 4, somewhere in this year. Okay, so if you have a sales order here already, then you need to start producing today only, because there will be a plan order for the sales order today only. I mean, ending today only. Fine. So it is like this. Let me just redo this. And for the benefit of participants yesterday, I'm adding additional examples so that you also don't get bored out of this. So you have a FG product, okay, finished product, and it needs a raw material. Okay, finished product has manufacturing lead time of say 1 month. Okay, I'm talking about months here only. And raw material has manufacturing lead time of 2 months. Okay, then transportation lead time, this guy has zero or null because it's a finished product at my location, but the raw material has transportation lead time of say 4 months. It's like that. Okay, and this is entirely from the plant perspective. I am not going to the DC level. Okay, so this that the plant itself has got some demand of the finished good, and then it needs the raw material and so on. Okay, so what happens is, in case you are going to get a sales order somewhere down the line in the month of 9, okay, a sales order equal to 100 quantity somewhere in the month 9. Okay, right now you do not have the sales order, but what if you get the sales order already in the month 9? So what you do for that? Okay, if there is a sales order in the month 9 at the plant, you need to finish up the production of finished good by this time. So your production order should be equal to 100 quantity, and it should end here. Then and then the sales order can be fulfilled. You agree to this? This is what we call as on time shipping. Or you are not able to follow me? Say it, guys. If there is a sales order in the month 9 somewhere here, okay, so you need to finish your production in month 9 itself on the particular day. Now I am in a month, but it would happen on a particular day. Okay, do you agree to me, or this is not, this is tangential to you? Say it very clearly, that doesn't matter. Okay, this is the best chance to clarify your doubts in case it's not clear. Hello, am I audible
Yeah,
at all?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Nil. I don't know. Like, what is
Yes,
speaking?
fine.
Okay, okay, so you have a sales order here, and you have production order you need to finish here. But then for the finished good, for the production order to end in the month 9, you need a manufacturing lead time of 1 month. So this is the production order end. Okay, so production order start would be somewhere 1 month early, because you need to start it in month end, then and then you can finish in month 9, because you need 1 month of manufacturing lead time, right? Because every order that we talk about has a start date and an end date. It takes some time, right? So this is the manufacturing lead time translation. Now if you want to start the production order somewhere in month 8, it means that the raw material should be available here, right?
Yes.
Because unless and until raw material is available, you cannot start it in the month end. It's the first step that is required. But if the raw material is sorry, this is not start, this is end. So if the raw material is required here, and I'll call it RAM only for making it small. So raw material ending is here because the production is starting here, but I need 2 months of manufacturing lead time and 4 months of transportation lead time. So the raw material is ending here. It means it would start at least 1, 2, 3, 4 months somewhere here, correct? So the raw material would be starting here from the supplier, right? And when I say starting, it means the raw material shipping will start from month 4, and then it would arrive in month 8. So it would be here. Now, if the supplier has to start the raw material purchase order in month 4, he has to start producing somewhere earlier than the manufacturing lead time, which is 2 months. So he has to start producing it here. So RM production is equal to 100 is starting somewhere in the month 2. You got it, right? So imagine that somewhere in the month 9, you are going to need a sales order of 100. You need to start planning at least how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in advance. This is one thing. On top of that, you cannot give the raw material production start notice to the vendor that I need it tomorrow and start it today. It doesn't happen. He also needs some preparation time. So you may need to give him order at least a month in advance, correct? So imagine we are sitting somewhere in the week number 2 here, okay, because this is week 3, so we are somewhere in the week number 2, which is month 0, because I'm considering all these weeks belong to 1 month, okay. So if this is month 0, I need to give the order to the vendor, because I need to produce something in the month 9. So this is way far, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months down the line in the future. So this sales order of month 9 is never available so much in advance. Because of that, coming back to this diagram, because of that, we have a demand planning module. I went too far in explanation here, but that was required to explain all the PPTs, that all the slides that we covered yesterday. So because I do not have a sales order in advance available, so I will use some module called demand planning, or there could be another possibilities of using the execution side of independent requirements called customer independent requirement or plan independent requirements. So both these things are to be punched in manually. So these are not the sales orders. Okay, these are some sort of plan demands. Okay. Similarly, the forecast is also planned demand. So forecast is generated automatically by the planning tool like a demand planning AP or IBP. And this customer independent requirement or plan independent requirements are some sort of planned demands. Okay. Planned demands. They are not the real demands. Only sales order is the real demand. These are planned demands, that something may be coming of that sort. Correct. So these have to be entered manually in ECC, plan independent requirement or customer independent requirement. There are two types of demands. So plan independent requirement is generic forecast, right? It doesn't need to belong to a specific customer. Customer independent requirements are specific to customer sort of thing. So it is especially used in case of make to order scenario, where you need to produce something for a specific customer, where you can put up the requirements of the customer also, right? Okay, this, the customer might give us a sales order of so and so type of product, so I will already enter a customer independent requirement of that sort. Okay. Or else you get a forecast. And nowadays almost 99%, that's, I don't know, 99 or 90%, but many projects, actually I cannot translate it into word figures that way, but in many projects we have some sort of forecasting tool. It is giving us the forecast. Okay. And that forecast is 2 years, 3 years, and forever, right? So here in this example, we have taken a forecast. We have, this orange line, it says demand forecasting, and it is going on until Q4 of 2 years. So it is a total 3 years of horizon, right? Day 1 till week till month 12. This is first year. Then Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 second year, and Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 third year. So this is a 3 years of demand forecasting horizon that we have planted here. Correct. So we have ECC where history sales orders are there. We have the demand forecasting where the forecast for 3 years is there. That all goes into one of the planning tool. Okay. So yesterday I was talking about some sort of planning tools that are available in the market. So when I say planning tool, they are the network planning tools. You are already using SNP as a supply network planning tool, but there is IBP, which is integrated business planning tool. Then there used to be ERP in a long days. I mean, every one of them is ERP by concept, right? We do planning of enterprise resources only. But then when SAP brought up, they used to call it as ERP tool, and then subsequently it got evolved into new terminologies. So in a sequence, if I want to put, okay, and just focusing on SAP side here, so it was in the sequence like this. So first came ERP, 60s, 70s, then they converted into MRP, 70s, 80s indicatively. Then subsequently they brought up SNP, which is supply network planning, and finally now we have IBP. Okay, IBP has a lot of competitors right now, like O9 Solution, Kinaxis Solutions, JDA that I was talking about. Okay, and then there is Microsoft Dynamics, which is called AX Software. Okay, and whatnot. So there is a what is that consulting organization? I forgot the name. McKinsey, I think. Uh, I mean, just a one moment of diversion. Okay, Magic Quadrant, Gartner is the company. Okay, so have an habit, if you're enthusiast into supply chain, okay, in general, including PPDS, then have a habit to go through these magic quadrant sort of paper that they publish every year. This Gartner company, they are the reviewers, okay? And every year they would just publish the magic quadrant of companies which are the best companies in the world for using a supply chain. So try to understand what is making them best, and then incorporate that in your consulting. I mean, this is there are multiple. I'm not promoting any one of them here, but just for your information. And then these are the supply chain companies, but there is one magic quadrant that they publish for softwares also. Okay, so I'm not saying that one software is bad or one software is good, but it is always beneficial to you that you understand what is good in what. Okay, so why I'm not able to find it here. There is a paper that they publish where they just put up the advantages of one software. Like say Logility is one software, Oracle Fusion is other, Unison, Tools Group, Anaplan is also doing great. And then somewhere there is SAP Integrated Business Planning. So it is better to know the competition, and it is better to know where are we lagging. And for example, this one, SAP versus Kinaxis or Blue Yonder. Blue Yonder is also by Panasonic, correct? So you can go in and just find out the comparison that okay, this is the place where I'm lagging, how can we make it better, include your suggestions and so on. Okay, so just make a note of this and have a habit of going through such advancements. Okay, magic quadrant of supply chain softwares. There they compare various parameters and then they put up that is very useful for the customers. Okay, but customers finally choose a software which is, in all perspectives doing good. Say it may not be the best in everything, but it can be giving you better in everything. Those kind of softwares are great for customers. Okay, so that's about the ERP software or the MRP software or the network planning or integrated business planning software that we do. But all that these softwares are doing, these tools are doing here is a rough cut capacity planning. Okay. Can someone from the yesterday students explain me what a rough cut capacity planning is? Say it loud, guys. You know it. Say in a layman's language. I know you overnight you cannot get into the technical keyword speaking, but that's fine. Doesn't matter. Concepts is fine for now. You can refine yourself subsequently. It's a process of refinement. It's not an overnight trigger. Anyone? Yeah.
Rough cut planning, it will give the idea
Idea of
idea of my that orders, how the plan order and P-Rex behavior will be was there. Once the planning is done, consumption is done, some scenario it is going to create for future.
absolutely. So you are close by, and I'm very happy you joined today, but you are able to answer to some extent, right? Anybody from yesterday wants to try again? Refine the answer.
Like what I've understood is like rough cut capacity planning is actually like you have explained about the horizons, right? So it's very close to, I mean, it considers basically the long-term capacity planning and I mean, so that we don't, purchase I mean, more than it is required. So it should be, I mean, like based on the time buckets, right, which you have explained yesterday, time buckets and the horizon. So
Absolutely.
it determines the requirements of the resources, like and whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then a small modification out there. So what happens is, because you're planning so much in advance, okay, because see the sales order is supposed to come in the month 9, which is not available to me, the sales order, because the sales order is just sent just in time. Nobody is giving you sales order so much in advance, like 1 year in advance, right, from the customer perspective. So what we do is, instead of the sales order, we just predict the future based on the forecasting tool. So we just imagine that last year I had got sales order in that month, so this year also I may get it. So how do I represent it already in my system as a forecast? Fine. I got the forecast. Okay. So here, this planning tool that we spoke about, it is planning for almost 2 years in horizon. So this sales order is for month 9, but it will also do a forecasting for quarter 3 of 2024 or 2025. So such things, when you're planning so much in advance, it has to be always done in a rough cut planning fashion. What does it mean is, you cannot say, for example, this production orders that I'm talking about here, okay, and the transportation duration that I'm talking about here is precisely 4 months, 1 month. I'm able to tell you confidently. But in reality, when you start doing the execution, so when the ship starts from one location to other location, or when you are actually getting into the manufacturing, there are multiple challenges. Okay, machine breaks down, the ship is not cleared by the custom, there is a storm, there is COVID, so anything might come, correct? So those things nobody has control over. Natural calamities nobody has control over, correct? And the ship breakdown is even not a natural calamity, right?
Right, right.
Now machine learning algorithms where they can also predict the probable failure, but there can be some unpredictable failures also even today. So such thing cannot be cannot be predicted. So if you plan for a sales order of 100, the production in the production order of 100 and the transportation of 100 in this example, so when this order subsequently enters into the execution side of it, right, and I'll talk about it because we are approaching PPDS here. So when you enter into this first 2 days or 2 weeks or whatever that execution horizon is, when you put that order on the shop floor and start producing, it may not be able to produce entire 100. It is quite given. It can produce 100. If it can produce 100 or 110, it is better. Okay, but if it produces instead of 100, it produces 90, then it's a nightmare, because there could already be a sales order in this first 1 or 2 days which you need to ship. The sales order is 100 quantity. You have already promised your customer that I am going to give you 100, but in general you created a production order of 100 against it, but there is some sudden failure happened, or there was a strike and you could produce only 90. So that 10 shortfall is a nightmare for your service levels. The customer will not trust you that, okay, he promised and he is not able to give me. For that purpose, what we do here is, if the sales order is 100, then the production is produced only 95 from here itself. Okay, how do we achieve that? So the capacity that we consider in this horizon, in the planning horizon, is 95% of what I can actually produce. 95% is just the indicative number. So you can produce 100, but you are already planning in the future horizon based on the 95% possibility. So that 5% margin that you're giving, that is for adjustment in the short horizon already. So this is called rough planning. Okay, it could be 90%. Some customers operate at 80% only because they know the type of challenges that they face at the shop floor. So the actual execution capacity is different, and the planning capacity is just some percentage of the actual capacity. That is why we call it as rough cut capacity planning. This, in fact, there is another objective. So this is only from a planning perspective. This is only from a capacity perspective of the production order. But you predicted a forecast here because the sales order would be available somewhere in the sorry, this is forecast. So sales order will be available very short horizon, right? So you would not be planning based on the sales order here. There will be a forecast. You would be planning based on the forecast. So you plan based on forecast of production capacity 95. So you planned up 95 1 day, 1 month, and remaining 5% next month, and so on. That way you planned here. Okay, but in reality, when you actually got the sales order somewhere here near horizon, okay, when this month 9 will slowly roll into this week 3 and day 14 and so on, so that time the sales order would arrive. But it is possible that the sales order could be of only 90, or it could be of 110, because you do not have control. You can try to be as close as possible to the forecast, but you do not have control. This is called forecast accuracy. You planned for 100, but you got 110. So your forecast accuracy is just 90%, correct? 10 less. Or you planned for 100, you got, I mean, this is plus 10, minus 10%, sorry, 110. And if you got 90 only, then it is plus 10%, and so on. So don't get into it. But you do not get close by to that. And because of all these things, all these unpredictabilities which are governed by the human interferences, the actual realities, you have to somehow plan these things in the rough fashion, and that's what you call this thing as rough cut capacity plan. Okay, So whatever you do here, this planning in the longer horizon with any of the tool that most of you are using, AP or IBP or the other tools, you do a rough cut capacity plan. Fine. Next step is when it comes, the plan orders are created from mid to long term horizon. Okay, mid to long term could be, week 3 onwards till quarter 4, or it could be from month 1 onwards till quarter 4. Okay, I would call these 2 weeks as short term horizon in this example. Some customer would call first 2 weeks and then next 4 weeks also as a short term horizon, and rest of the horizon as mid to long term horizon. Okay, it could be anything. Okay, and this thing I have to talk when we go get into the PPDS in details, correct? Because these horizons are governed based on the type of master data that you see. So that's why I will keep coming back to this diagram again, because it should be super clear in your mind that what is my short horizon, what is my mid to long term horizon, and what is the overlapping horizon between the execution tool PPDS and the planning tool IBP APO, whatever. Okay, so these are the plan orders that the planning tool creates in the mid to long term horizon. But once the orders enter into a short term horizon, which in this case is first two, I will call it as week 0 and week 1. Okay, these days are not making sense. Week 2, sorry, week 1 and week 2. So when the order of week 3 enters into week 2, right? Subsequently, the Sunday will become Monday, right? So the order of week 3 will go into week 2. So that time we convert those orders into firm orders or PPDS orders and so on. So this conversions has a dedicated chapter somewhere down. But then just imagine, just understand the concept that the mid to long term planned orders are converted into PPDS orders somewhere here. Okay, either automatic way or manually, whatever. So that orders are converted, and those orders after conversion are automatically converted into production order, because there are some settings in the MRP and in S4 side where the confirmed or PPDS orders are automatically converted into production order. So what you are having here in week 1 and week 2 are all production orders. You get those production orders. Okay, and then on top of that you might want to run planning, or you might want to directly run scheduling. So this is interesting. When we say PPDS, it has got two sides: production planning and detailed scheduling. Okay, and we are responsible to take care of both. Some customers want to run both production planning and detailed scheduling. Some customers only want to run detailed scheduling. What does it mean is the order is available in the short term horizon. Okay, here now what happened is this order of 95 or 100, whatever has come here from the long term planning tool, it may not be 100% true. Why? Because probably yesterday's order you produce over, right? It was 100 quantity but you produce 110, so you already have 10 excess yesterday, correct? But still, say I'll just convert it into 100. Okay, every day I wanted to produce 100, every week I wanted to produce 100, but for some reason you produce 110 in the previous week, so you have 10 quantity excess, correct? So the order that is there for tomorrow, you don't want to actually produce 100 but you want to produce only 90, because you're getting 10 excess from yesterday. The sales order here was only 100, so 100 matches, 10 excess comes, that has to be utilized here. So for that purpose, some customers also run a very short term planning with PPDS. That's what we call as PP, production planning. So there are some heuristic in PPDS which are used for doing a production planning. Again, I'm just be sure that you understand the concept, the fundamental difference between a planning and a scheduling. So PPDS is both planning and scheduling tool. SNP, IBP or whatnot, all these are only planning tools. There is only P at the end. So enterprise resource planning or supply network planning and so on, whereas the PPDS is production planning and detailed scheduling. So this guy would it has a possibility of doing a planning again on those orders. So see, FMCG sort of industries always do planning again. If the industry is a heavy engineering or where there is very lesser chance of changing any demand supply picture, because your orders are such a big and coming from wholesale customers, you do not generally overproduce, underproduce and all those things. It works in a very smooth manner. So that is why 100 will become 100 only. But in case of FMCG, it is always possible that okay, my machine breakdown for producing the biscuits, so I just converted that into confectionery, into cake, into something else, so they can reuse the line, so they take a on the fly decisions. Okay, so for such on the fly decisions, it is always possible for that for one product you produce zero because the die could not finish, or maybe the raw material wasn't available, the color did not arrive for confectionery and all. So you might want to change that on the fly, and you would like to overproduce from some other product. So it is always possible. So those sort of industries always use the PP, the production planning functionality again, and use some PPDS heuristic to again do a planning and convert the order of 110 again as per the latest demand planning situation, demand and supply situation. Okay, so that's what happens here, the production planning for short term. Okay, but important thing here is the master data that goes into this is different than the master data that goes into this rough cut planning. Why? Because the rough cut planning is at month level or week level. You know, the planning level also plays an important role. So you're doing a rough cut planning somewhere here from month to quarters and so on. Even the weeks would be planned in month and then disaggregated to the weeks, right? Equally. So that is why this master data has generic information, but when it comes to the production planning, it has got more detailed information, right? Up to the second it is capable of planning. So we'll see this PPDS master data also later. So that's what is the production planning. Once this thing is done, then we get something like this. Okay, so this is my week 1 and 2, and this is my week 3 and week 4 from that example from the Excel. So the order that is created by the planning tool, it is like this. It is doing a bucket level planning. So in one week, it would just do one order starting and ending with the date. And then it would tell you information about, okay, the order has to be processed via 4 operations. So I need to produce the first operation from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. different and so on. So this type of sequencing is not there at all in the bucket level planning, in the rough cut capacity planning. So the job of your detailed scheduling is to pick up these orders and convert them into some sort of operation sequence, which are not overlapping with each other. Okay, and they are giving a precise information to your production planning guys that boss, start at this time, end at this time, then pick up the other order and so on. Very simplistic way. It would just do a sequencing, but it would do a sequence optimization. It means that, okay, you got 2 orders to be produced, okay, this order and this order, or you might be running it for the entire 2 weeks horizon. Okay, so what this rough cut planning is saying, that orange order, blue order, orange order, blue order are repeating day after day at the same time. But this guy would do that, first of all start producing with the light color blue order, then consecutively produce the orange orders operations, so that if you put blue orange, then you need to spend a lot of time in doing the setup, because both of them belong to different products. So different products may require different type of setup on the machine. Don't do that. So let's put blue order because that was high priority perhaps, then put orange orders consecutively, then do some setup, then put blue orders consecutively, then put some time for setup, and then produce the orange order again. So likewise the sequencing would be governed in the most optimized way, so that we reduce time in the setups, we reduce time in the uh, prioritization, right? Not reduction time of prioritization, but you also apply prioritization. For example, you needed this order with the highest priority because it's a high priority customer, so you schedule it here. That could be a manual change by the scheduler possible, and then you produce this order because it was needed in the week 1 itself, then week 2 order was the blue order, and so on, right? So this sort of order operation sequencing is the outcome of PPDS. That's what we do here. Okay, and that is how this entire thing works, from a demand planning to supply planning to enterprise resource planning to production planning to the detailed schedule. Once the orders are detailed scheduled and the operation sequencing is done, then you simply publish it to ECC. I mean, usually the orders are already published to ECC or available in S4, but just indicatively, the change in the schedule is again sent to S4 ECC. And then from there, it goes to a manufacturing execution system called MES. In the manufacturing execution system, it sits on top of any planning and scheduling tool. Then it picks up the orders, it would go and sit at the shop floor and then just ask the operators, shop floor operators, that boss, from this time to the other time, just schedule this operation and finish that operation and so on. So that's the different case. MES systems are multiple. So even SAP has their MES systems. Okay, so that's in brief that we have seen since yesterday. In general, the system architecture, how does it behave and so on. Okay, So is this clear to the new guys especially, or is there any doubt? Please shoot.
It's clear, Anil.
Great. Okay. And of course, when the recording is available, you can refer the recording, because yesterday we did not cover a lot of things technically. So it's better that you just listen to that as a story. So there are some additional things like advantages of PPDS, how PPDS and ePPDS are different and so on. That would be helpful. Okay, fine.
Anil,
All right.
I have just one question.
Yes.
You explained about that plant independent requirements and customer independent requirements, right? So,
Yeah.
like it could be only be in the form of forecasting, or it could, I mean, in the system, or like it could be shown in the other form as well. Like
Uh,
generally,
can you
like
elaborate?
what are the plant independent requirements or a customer independent
So
apart
see,
from forecasting? Yeah, forecast. Sorry.
so you mean, are these the only three possibilities of type of predictions or anything else? That's what you want to ask, right?
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yeah, so see, these are the only types of those things, but then sales order is the biggest one out of it. I mean, let's not call it as forecast, but these are the types of demands. Okay, we have next module, which is the demand. Okay, because see, you want to start producing something or you want to plan the production, but you do not have demand, then what do you plan against, right? It is always a demand supply relationship. When we say material
Correct.
requirement planning, you just do what is the demand and accordingly what is the requirement of materials. Fine. So these are the only types of planned demands. Okay, PLA, NNED, planned demand versus actual demand. These are two separate parts. Okay, so actual demand is only sales order or a delivery. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
to a supply chain, entire supply chain, the demand has various definitions. Okay, so let me just draw something very quickly here. And that's a good question, but it will be coming up anyway, but it's better I speak about it here once. Okay, so I want to draw a typical supply chain. Okay, and I would just draw the line items and you guys will have to tell me what it can be. Okay, and these line items are from supply perspective. Okay, not from demand perspective. That's supply direction perspective. Direction is very, very important in supply chain. Okay, so this is a very typical supply chain network. Okay. Now, just to begin, I will give it as a name as plant one or plant. Okay. For some material. If this is a plant, he's receiving something from someone and he's sending something to someone. So what these someones can be on the right side and what this someone can be on the left side. Any guesses, please? See, all of us are from supply chain background. So this is a pretty simple thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the right side, it can be a RDCs or customers.
Perfect. So this is a DC.
Distribution
I would
centers.
sorry,
Yeah, distribution centers.
distribution center. Okay. So I'll call it as, sorry.
Mm.
Okay. So let us call it as DCs on the right side, plant at the middle, and on the left side, plant is taking something from someone. So what this could be?
Vendor.
Great. Okay. So if someone wants to complicate things, okay, and that's usually a case that the network is not so simple. So these DCs can be PDC. We would call them primary DC. The primary DC could be the regional DC. It now supplies to a lot of or okay, I would call it RDC in your words. So it's a regional DC. It would supply to individual DCs under the geography. So this can be the primary DC and it could supply to tens of secondary DCs. Similarly here, the plant can get raw material from the vendor as well as the plant can get it from another plant also. It's quite possible. or the plant can get the raw material from other DC also. It is also possible because the DC is perhaps procuring from some vendor. So there is no limitation, right? There is no limitation. But then coming back to your question, okay, what sort of demand it could be? So for this supply chain network to begin, the lowest level is this, correct? These are level number zeros, okay? And we have a special terminology for that, that is called low level code setting in PPDS or in supply chain planning, because all these things are connected via these kind of connectors which we call as transportation lanes. So when we use any planning engine, planning tool, the planning tool should know where to start and where to end, right? So it cannot start with plant because the demand is actually at the DC. So we have to indicate them that, okay boss, you are at low level code number 0. So it would start planning from this direction. It would come to the plant, which is low level code 1, and then it would go to the vendor in case you're planning the vendor also in your supply chain, which is unlikely. You may or may not want to plan the vendor. Okay, so that is level number 1. So now, if there is one another thing, okay, say for example, what I am doing in this entire context or in this example is I'm just dropping these distribution centers from my planning, because my focus for this training is not to do the rough cut capacity planning, but my focus is to mainly focus on the production planning and detail scheduling. Correct. So for that purpose, how does this demand migrates from RDC to plant is none of my business. Okay, it is my as a supply chain consultant, but to save time, we are not focusing that same. That is the part of supply chain planning, supply network planning, and IBP. So I'm dropping it here. Okay. So what happens? And agree to me, okay? Just we are just making it simplified from context perspective. Okay, so this is the situation, and this RDC is not a RDC anymore. This is a customer, for example, for me. Okay, so my supply chain planning becomes like this. Okay, so in this context, if the customer would be giving me actual demand, that becomes a sales order. Okay, so this is my actual demand. Or there could be plan demands also. The plan demand is customer independent requirement, CIR. Why? Because it is coming from the customer. So this particular section is especially used in case you have a specific customer who gives you a specific order. So what does it mean is, if you enter a CIR in the system, that CIR is very specific to the customer as a type of a plan demand. This CIR based plan order you cannot use for any other customer, because you insert some sort of customer specific settings in the CIR. That is CIR. But in case this is not CIR based, in case it is DC based only, okay, you got multiple DCs only, and fine, you're planning from that perspective for the plan. Okay, so you can also insert PIR, which are plan independent requirements. So this is straight away a forecast. Only thing is, it is not generated automatically. You are putting it. Say your sales guy, okay, he is a sales guy for say Karnataka. Okay, and he already spoke to, for the iPhone example from yesterday, he already spoke to Chroma that Chroma would be giving us a purchase order of some quantity somewhere 6 months down the line. So we cannot start planning it. So he would manually put, I mean, manually put a PIR in that case, because Chroma is giving us an order, but that is not, I'm not customizing and producing it for that. Correct. In this case, because iPhones are iPhones, right? iPhones are not Chroma iPhones and Reliance iPhones and so on. So for such products, it is PIR. But if it was a case of a aircraft, for example, I'm an aircraft manufacturing facility. So every aircraft that I produce, that belongs to a specific airlines, correct? So it has got the bomb of the aircraft is different by customer, because the color goes different, some modification, someone needs a satellite antenna on top and so on. So for such industry, I would go for CIR. But if the industry is a generic industry where the product is not specific to customer, it's a PIR. Both these things are entered directly into S4 system. It's a master data out there. Okay. But then in case I want to do a very long term planning with some advanced algorithms of forecasting, I have a forecasting tools also. Okay. So these are three types of plan independent requirements. Okay. So see, now just to connect one additional dot. So these are the predicted requirements. Okay. From a demand perspective at the DC, I am all of them I'm talking here at the DC perspective. Okay. If there is no DC, so all these things can also be entered at the plant. But there is one additional type of demand that goes into supply chain, that is between plant and DC. So imagine this is your network, a DC sending demand to plant. So the DC has got, okay, let me drop CIR, let me drop PIR. I have a forecast. Okay. If the DC gets forecast, then the type of demand that comes as part of input to PPDS or a supply chain is the dependent requirement, because this is a forecast which is at the DC. The DC is sending some demand to the plant. So this is not a forecasted demand, but this is a dependent demand. So just be clear about it. There can be various multiple types of demand. Okay. There can be, we call it differently in different tools. So say IBP calls it dependent demand, APO calls it distribution demand, and then whatnot. So don't get jumbled in the naming conventions, but these are type of tool specific demands that are in. Okay, so that's an additional type of demand. I hope I did not divert from the main context of the question for you, Kshitij.
No, Anil, yeah, it's pretty much clear. I just wanted to know one more thing, like as you said, plan independent requirements and customer independent requirements. So, like in the system, it comes in the name of this only or something else. That actually I want to just clarify.
Correct.
I'm
Yes, yes. So on the
like, let's
S4
say
side,
we can just a minute. Let's say we can see in the system like it's present in the form of forecast, like any demand, okay, or any actual demand. It will be a sales order. So what for PIR and CIR? Like how we can
okay,
see in the
so
system? Yeah, identify it.
on S4 side, you can easily identify it as a CIR or PIR. Okay, because S4 doesn't differentiate between them. But when it comes to IBP, sorry, when it comes to PPDS side, within S4 or other S4, I mean APO based PPDS also, it
Mhm.
is usually shown as a forecast only, but we will see that practically. We will try to enter one of them, maybe a plan independent requirement, and how does it reflect. I never paid attention what sort of category it reflects actually, frankly, previously. So let's do
Okay.
that,
Oh,
and it's coming soon by next class only. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see that.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay. So that's how I would rest my case for the PPDS introduction. From the new guys, if you have any question, please shoot. Otherwise, I want to start with the new topic. Are you guys okay?
Hello,
Just
Anil. This is Jyotsna. I have joined little late, so can you briefly explain what has been discussed earlier? I mean, what have I missed?
so when did you join and what time you joined today?
I have joined at 9:50, I guess.
Okay, because we have been just talking about what is covered so far since yesterday. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
did this
that was the
start
recap on.
from yesterday itself?
Yeah, the session has started from yesterday. So okay,
Okay.
let me show you something. Uh, where is the context part? Uh, let's see. Have you guys got access to the LMS by now?
Yes.
Okay. So see, just to give introduction, because Josna, frankly, we won't be able to repeat everything because for last 1 year we hour we just repeated what is there yesterday. So we are starting today's session practically now only. Okay, but my advice would be, uh,
Hmm.
see, we haven't covered a lot of details technically yet. We're going to start the PPDS master data part today. So go over the session recordings whenever it is available. It is the concepts that we spoke yesterday are generic, right? They are applicable to all the next 10, 15, 10, whatever number of sessions that we are going to have. Okay, so it's not that if you did not learn something yesterday yet, then you won't be able to cover up the today's session and apply those fundamentals, but they are for a generic understanding. So it is must for you to go over them today whenever the recording is available. Okay,
Okay, sure,
yeah,
Anil.
right. But then I would still cover up what I mean the agenda for the entire training so that you know where are we, and in context you would be able to connect the dots, and this is applicable to all of you. Okay, so this overall session is into 5 modules. Okay, I mean overall training is into 5 modules. Unit 1 is about the introduction, okay, and the role of PPDS. So we have been covering this part so far since yesterday, and we also did the repetition here. Important thing here is to understand what PPDS is, what is the role of PPDS, what sort of terminology is involved, how does PPDS connects to other modules of supply chain, right? And then what are various horizons within PPDS. We also learned about the difference between the PPDS based on APO and PPDS based on S4 embedded PPDS, the ePPDS one. Okay, and that is why I'm saying that it is okay to proceed further now for the next topics and just go over them and ask me questions. We can connect directly. We can clarify the doubts whenever needed for the previous sections. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sure.
Then we started little bit about the master data yesterday, and we want to carry it forward today. Okay. So this session in general would not be just the theoretical sessions, and my bad. I can't help it anyway, that the initial topics had to be explained on the Excel or in the PPT. And I know it is very difficult to grasp. Okay. Still, I'm trying to be, with some examples out there, but the sessions afterwards are totally in the system. So my expectation is every one of you is selecting some data the way I am selecting. Okay. Most of you are able to access the system now, right? Just confirm me. S4 PPDS system. Uh,
No, Anil.
Yes, yes.
No.
who can, who cannot? Let me take this thing attendance. So Kshitiz, can you access?
No, Anil. Actually, we are uh, not able to download that GUI. Yesterday we tried, but yeah, it requires actually admin password and all.
But see, GUIs and are usually available in the company laptop also, because some you may have the GUI from your own company on your laptop, or you can download it from some internal portal. External software installation could be a problem sometime, but then uh, make it fast either this way or that way. But because the server access is available on the fly, it doesn't need any sort of VPN access to you, right? Any GUI that you have, simply say this kind of GUI, simply go and then add this thing. Okay. uh, Add a new logon. All the connection details are provided to you, correct? Just add the description, system ID, etc., and boom, it's done. Okay. So make it very fast, take it on high priority today, because
Yes, Anil.
practicals, I want to carry on with the practical sessions with everyone together. Otherwise it makes no sense. If you do not create your own scheduling today, you will never get a confidence. Okay. With this training, you have to reach there. Yeah, fine. Okay, then let's come back to the next sessions. Okay, no, sorry, I was where I was just explaining you course curriculum. My bad. Yeah. So we're going to start today with the master data, and this is the base. Okay, don't pay attention to the number of hours that are allocated here, because that may not be 100% true. From my belief, if you spend time into understanding the base master data, not making it too complicated, but understanding the connections of master data, your work is half done. Because most of the things are, master database. There are only three things in, rather four things in PPDS. One is introduction. So you should know where this module fits in the context of supply chain, that we know very well now. And I'm going to ask you left right questions in the test about it. I am expecting you all to know it. Second thing is the master data. If you know the master data, half work is done in PPDS. Third thing is doing the planning and scheduling. So in the planning and scheduling, what happens is, this is a closed source system, right? You don't actually configure that algorithm. You don't actually write down something in the algorithm that what is happening in the backend, right? Scheduling is happening. You use one heuristic. What is required there is to understand different heuristics that are available with PPDS, and this is the customer. So I have to use this sort of heuristic. That is important. Okay. And for that, it is utmost necessary that you have the basics about the heuristics. That is the third step of PPDS. And fourth and foremost step is to understand various tools that are available. Because see, master data is there. You inserted your demand and supply planning. So you created a data model. There is a black box available with SAP that does something on the data model and gives you meaningful outcome. Now, what to do with that meaningful outcome? I should know about various tools that are available in PPDS. The algorithms are available even in Excel sometimes. You will be surprised. You're using a heuristic, right? Day and night in the PPDS, or you're using some statistical forecasting models, correct? In IBP, the softwares are sold costly, but the same statistical forecasting you can do even with Excel. What is missing there is the base, the data model. IBP helps you to create a data model at certain planning levels. It helps you to organize your data, create a meaningful data model. So it is all a big data processing tool, which where you feeding just random sales history and whatnot. It just prepares a systematic data model and gives as an input to that algorithm and gives you a finite outcome. So this is just the organization of all the different things required for processing a big data, correct? Same thing you can do with in Excel. And that is why the four things that I spoke: the introduction, master data, then planning and scheduling tools, and the reporting tools, right? The detailed scheduling board, the product planning table, and so on. All those things are necessary for you. Okay. And this training is based like that. So we will spend some time in the beginning on setting up master data, understanding the tool. Then we will spend some time about understanding what sort of demand, how do I create a demand before doing the planning. Correct. Once the demand is in the system, we would spend time in the production planning part of it. So we will convert that demand into plan orders and so on. And this all connects to the master data. If you do not have clear master data, it doesn't help. And then finally you go into detail scheduling part. This will be modified to detail scheduling, not production planning. You will do the detail scheduling and then understand what is done there. So translate that daily plan into hourly plan and so on. And finally, you will know some additional tools available under the PPDS, correct? So you will also know, okay, what does resource planning table can do, what does product planning table can do, and so on. We will also touch base little bit on the PPDS optimizer. This entire sessions would be based on the PPDS heuristics, but we will also know what it can be, what are the capabilities of optimization. It is too complex. Very few, or I mean, in my career, I haven't seen a single customer getting into it. But in case you have one, it is good. You can explore a lot, but I will at least bring you to the level where you are confident to get into optimization. And then there are some additional topics, configuration, and then detailed scheduling, master recipe, and all. So these are embedded. These are not dedicated topics, but I am going to embed them into wherever they fit in context with the previous 5 modules, right? Okay. So are we all together? Is good. So let's get into the next steps. Okay. So basically, what we did yesterday is we saw how material location plans, etc., can be shared. Okay. This is where we started and ended precisely. That on either S4 or ECC site, you have some sort of master data which gets translated to PPDS master data, whether it is a S4 PPDS or APO PPDS, both of them. Okay. The only thing that differentiates both of them is the way you integrate that data. Okay. When it comes to APO based PPDS, you got a core interface SIF that you must be aware about. You go and generate, activate, and all those things of the integration models. But when it comes to PPDS on S4HANA, embedded PPDS, it is just done by setting up some advanced planning activation. So let's see that. Okay. So first of all, you have plan, customer, vendor on ECC or S4 or ERP side that you translate as a location on PPDS, but we still identify them with variable or differentiated location types, plant as 1001 and so on. In the context of our training, we will not integrate customers and vendors because we are not doing a network planning. In fact, the DC and plant, both of them are sent as location only, but with a different location type. So in our case, we will just select one plant because we are more interested to focus more onto the planning and scheduling at the plant level. Okay, so for here, we will just select one plant on S4 and send it across. Then there is material master, which becomes a product master, correct? With the differentiated transactions, we access material master on S4 via MM0123 transactions and product master via the slash SAP APO MAT1 transactions. Then there is work center or resource on S4 that becomes a resource master on PPDS side. Then there is this complicated master data called bomb routing slash recipe and production version, which becomes the PDS, but more of it coming soon. And then if at all you want to use this tool for network planning, right? DC sending it to another plant, or one DC to other DC, you need the transportation lanes also, right? So that that line is connected. So for that, you need to have some sort of master data, which is either an info record, a contract, a scheduling agreement, or a purchase. The info record is purchase info record, or there can be a special procurement requirement. So there are various sorts of input master data that are required on S4 or ECC that get translated into a transportation lane. Okay. So that's clear, right? I'm now going forward to not here, not here. Okay, so let me give you some background, but before that, where did we stop here? I have a short-term memory. Where did we covered this part, right? Yesterday we saw how the transfer happens and so on.
Yes.
Yes, for we have activated material in MM02.
That's correct. That's correct. Yes. So basically, before we go forward and set up some data, let us go through some important settings that are required for any advanced planning system. Okay. And in the for help for just to bring the others to the speed from practicality, what we do is you go to SPRO in the beginning. The moment you get a PPDS system in hand, you go to SPRO. Okay. In SPRO, there is a section called advanced planning. That is where all these things are coming into play, correct? Because see, MRP or ERP that I was talking about is also planning. But when SNP, IBP sort of tools came as an advancement on top, I'm talking from this context. When there is ERP, MRP, it is also planning. And same thing happens in SNP, IBP also. But we call these as advanced planning because of the features that are coming up, right? You can make a better data model, you can process huge amount of data, and you have more number of heuristics optimizer type of algorithms out there. So that is why we call it advanced planning, and SAP is retaining that. So this is a embedded PPDS. Okay, this is S4HANA system. Under that, the PPDS is available under advanced planning section. So all the settings that you need to do, the various heuristics, the various tools that I was talking about, the master data that you set up, the global settings that you do, it's all under here. Okay, so this becomes your central pivot for you. Now you go to basic settings. Under that, you go to activate advanced planning, and this is the first step that anybody does before starting up with his PPDS journey, right? This has to be ticked. If it is not ticked, then all other features of PPDS will not be available to you. This is one thing. Okay. Then the second thing that you do is setting for master data and transactional data. Sorry, not master transactional, only for transactional data. So under this, unlike in the APO PPDS, you are doing this integration model setup and all. Here, you're just activating which transactional data should be going here and there. Correct. Stocks going from PPDS to PPDS from S4, sales orders, plan independent requirements. See, CIRs are not even here. Why they are not here? Maybe CIR are embedded under PIR, it may be. But once you create a plan independent requirements, they translate plan orders, production orders, campaigns, purchase order and PREX, manual reservations, requirement reduction, inspection lot batches, and scheduling agreements. So most of the times what you use is stock, sales order, plan independent requirement, plan order, production order, PO, PR, then inspection lots. That's it. Rest of the things are peripheral. Not every customer is perhaps using sales scheduling agreements. They just create a sales orders, no scheduling agreements. But this is also type of demand, a a type of sales order only. Okay, in layman. Then production campaigns. So sometimes there are some campaigns created, but I will speak about it. Okay, just note down some one of you and remind me while you are in the production scheduling board to explain what a production campaign is, because this is very specific to some industry segment. Some customers might want to create some campaigns in the production. So let's talk about it there. Okay, you can also create these campaigns in S4 and transfer them. Rest of the things are there. Okay, but these are the important master data, and your job is to ensure that you enable all of them while you are setting up the system first time. Now I will not save, go back. So these are two settings. Rest of the settings will come to that. Okay, so we, before starting of any integration, these are two settings. On top of that, one small setting I should tell you that comes under SMQ2 transaction. Okay, and not that we have to do it as a consultant. The people, the basis guys will have to do it. Okay, so are you aware about the queue? What is a queue and how does data transfer happens between APO and ECC or S4? Can anybody tell me what does a queue mean? Anything that you know, because many of you explained you are doing a monitoring and checking these things on daily basis, right?
Sir, when we are shipping the data from one system to another, like we are shipping the data from ECC to APO. So
Mhm.
so queues are running inbound and outbound queues, SMQ1 and Q2. So these are the systematic flowing of data from one part to another. If any queues is struck, then we are going to the CQ and see what happened. Sometimes PV is not maintained, sometimes something is there. So we are going to delete the queue or mark the queue.
Okay, perfect. So I think you are living life with queues because you explain in word to word the way the queue should be explained. That's great. So there are two types of queues, as I said, inbound and outbound, right? So because this is in context of one other system, right? So say APO system. So this SMQ2 transaction that I am here, it is inbound to APO. And when I say SMQ1, it is outbound to APO, correct? Okay. But while we are in the embedded PPDS system, still the queues are required here because not master data, but the transactional data still flows via queues here. Okay. Because of that, one setting that is required and that many times people forget is you go to either inbound or outbound transaction when execute. Okay. There are many queues of plan order and so on. Why are they stuck? I don't know. Sys fail. Object does not exist in database. Okay, never mind. So for time being, I'm going to select all of them, okay, and just delete them because I don't want the system to be diluted while we start. Start fresh. Okay, this is not the way you should do it because queues could be important in the production system, but this is test. Fine. So once you are in the SMQ2, go to go to QI and scheduler, okay, and make sure that the CF star queues are registered. Okay, because these are all settings for a new system. You got a fresh system in hand. What to be done? Activate PPDS, verify that the transactional data flow is activated, and come down here and ensure that CF star is in R fashion. Okay, how it is done in case it is missing because in the new system usually it is. Then go to registration. Okay, simply put CF star. Okay, and say okay. Then it gets registered. Okay, this mode is now deregistered selected, by the way. You need to say R. D is deregister, R is register. So this is already in the registered sorry, mode. No, 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 my bad. Sorry. The type has to be R. Okay, mode has to be D always, my bad. Right. So if you go for deregistration of this queue, let us do that. Okay, so this CF star deregistration. So this become U, right? Is unregistered. My bad. It's been a while I'm looking at this. So now CF is unregistered. It means that neither data can come to PPDS nor it can go out. Okay, so ensure that this is always in the registered fashion because I have seen people facing this problem multiple times that the queues are unregistered and they are unable to send data and look data into cross systems. Okay, so this is another setting that you have to do other than PPDS system activation, right? Okay, any doubt or you are aware about it? Some things for APO sifting, right? See, integration model activation generation. I may be running forward, running fast on them, or maybe skipping them. So in case you have doubt in that, please let me know. I will stop and explain because I'm focusing more from the new features, right? S4 HANA based PPDS perspective. So this CFM, etc. are past. They are there in your system, but by 2025, anyways, people will have to migrate to the new system. Maybe APO, no, sorry, APO phase out would happen somewhere in 2030. So there is still so many years to go, but the customers have started migrating to the new advancement. So it's quite possible that you are still using, but maybe in next year or in 2 years, you may not be using that CFM integration model thing. Yeah. Okay. So let us go to the next setups that are required before we go for activation. Okay, so this advanced planning and activation we saw, define the data transfer settings we saw, correct? PPDS activation. And then there is these two things. Okay, setup, model planning. I mean, we have seen the core interface activation, also logical system and so on. But okay, since it is mentioned here, I'll speak about this also. But setting up of a model and planning version. So this is third and most important part. One of you should tell me what is a model and a planning version in APO. First of all, is there anybody among you who doesn't know about model and planning version? You can be very frank, open up your heart, guys, please. I mean, just try to get most of the training, please. You guys on break? What happened?
No, Anil. Okay,
So great. Okay. So let me open up the model version transaction first of all. Okay. MVM slash
okay,
SAP APO slash.
yeah.
Sorry.
If you can explain a little bit around it, yeah, it will be good.
All right. Yeah, I'm anyways going to do that, but I just
Yeah.
thought maybe one of you is reading about it in APO days. So the transaction code is MVM, which is model version management. Okay, go in that. So and the sequence that I'm explaining has to be followed while setting up the system also. So what you do basically is come down to the screen. Now this is setup because we have got a already set up system, right? But if you got the system first time, you will not have this. Even if you copy and create a new client of the system, you will not have neither model nor a version. Okay, so in that case you have to click here and then create a planning version and a model both. Okay, and that has to be happening in the sequence. So first of all you create a model and then create a planning version under that. Okay, so the model is like, I have been talking about data model thing from beginning, right? Data model, data model, data model. So this is exactly same concept. If you have seen the big data analytics wala things, so the guys focus more on creating a data model out there. So data model is in context. I am passing, I have lot of data, but I will create a data model, give it as an input to the processing algorithm. Okay, so same thing is here. Whatever data that you transfer from S4 system or any other outside system to PPDS or a planning system, you have to assign a data model. So that becomes your active model. You can create another models also, but that is not usually the case because people generally want to keep that data in sync with the other system. Correct. So that is the active model, which is consisting of all the data. Now it is quite possible that you got some 10 products. Okay. They are automatically assigned with the active model 000. And you don't want them to be considered for your planning. You just want to keep them in your planning system. So you can deliberately remove them from the model. That is possible. So if you remove them from the model, they are no more part of the model. Nowhere the planning engine is going to consider them. Okay, so that's the concept of model, and there is not many details. It's just the name that you specify. Okay, and few other things like when it was changed and so and so on. So that doesn't matter. You just have to create a 000 model. I mean, very rarely you will find some project where there are additional models like 001, 002, and so on. But those 001 and 2 will not get data from other system. Whenever you integrate data from other system, it would only go into 000 as a default model. So this is your universal truth. This is the way system is set up. Now under one model, okay, under one model there is one version called 000, which is called as active version. This is the planning version. You can create multiple versions, say 001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so what happens under a version is in a straightforward manner. Model contains all your master data. Version contains the transactional data within the master data. Okay, so what it means is, okay, I have got some 10 products in my model. Okay, now that 10 products will belong 10 products. There is some planning situation for those 10 products which is there in the active version called 000. All the transactional data also lies here. Okay, now I want to run some simulations on top of it. So I'll just make a copy. There are some jobs to make a version copy between 000 to 001 or any other version name. There is no limitation. You can give any name to the planning version. Okay, say simulation and so on. So you copy the version from 000 to other version. So it would copy all the transactional data. Master data would remain as a base. Okay, in that new version. So if you go to any of the planning execution tool here, okay, which processes data, say RRP3 or a detailed scheduling board or any other tool that I will explain further. You have to specify what is the planning version that you want to look the data for. You have to specify 000 or another version. If you do it, if you make a copy of say version called 001, you specify 001, it would display data only under that. Whatever you make changes there, that is not integrated to anywhere, it just remains there. So you can run through some of the simulations on top. You can change your capacity, production planning capacity, see how does it affect you. You can create a new demand element and then see how does it affect the capacity utilization and so on. So all those things are called as simulations. So it has little meaning or little importance from production planning and detailed scheduling perspective. Why? Because the production planners, schedulers, especially not production planners, they do not do a lot of simulations because they are in the execution phase, right? So for a first week, if I keep running the execution, sorry, keep running the simulation, that what happens if I do that, what happens if I do that, they will lose on time on doing the actual execution. They have to get the order out from the shop floor, correct? So it has lesser lesser how to say um, benefits from the scheduler's perspective. But when it comes to the planner's perspective, again there is a difference of the planner and scheduler. So when it comes to the planner perspective, he is doing the plan for a very long term horizon, so he can use another version, make some changes somewhere down the line 1 year long, and then rerun his planning and see what is the impact, right? So that way the simulation, the other simulation versions, I mean any other version than 000, you call it simulation version, and that is helpful in those cases. But for us, it is important that you have a model and a version. And this is so much important before you transfer any single data to PPDS. If you transfer, I mean, there is a bug in this embedded PPDS that you can transfer data even without setting up the model and version, but it is so difficult to get it out later. This system is still evolving, right? So I've made that mistake once, that I forgot to add the model version and started sending data. So there was huge chunk of data without any model and version, and then I created model version. I could not assign them to the model and version. That was such a difficult task. Then we had to reach out to SAP and they did something and something happened. Okay, so make sure that you follow this type. Ideally, in an ideal world, if there is no model and version, you should not be able to transfer data at all. I gave this suggestion to SAP guys and they agreed, because this is so volatile, right? People might forget in a moment. Inside the version, there are some settings. Okay, so the settings are whether this version is active for PPDS or not. So you have to actually activate this. I need to go in change mode. I'm making this change for you. Change planning active. Okay, then there is this PPDS horizon in days. Okay, so this PPDS horizon is what is means that you are running some planning algorithm or a scheduling algorithm onto PP on that that the scope of that engine will be just for 90 days, because I've specified 90 days. In the APO world, it used to be at the location product level. If you go to the location product master data in your system, in the ECC, in the PPDS with APO, you will see the PPDS horizon as one of the field under product master. Here with ePPDS, they have moved it at the generic level. So you specify at once only, okay, 90 days is what is my horizon. And then I will select to run the job only for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever. So in the job, you can specify. But if you have 90 days of PPDS horizon, and if you're running the PPDS job for say quarter 1, it will just create results of only up to 90 days, because this is the master restriction that is in. Correct? Understand this difference? Okay, fine. So if you say no order without a source of supply, okay, let me see, this is new. Order without a source of supply, order without a source of supply allowed. So I would go with that, because yeah, at times you might want to create punch in a purchase requisition without a source of supply, without a transportation lane, or you might want to create a plan order without a source of supply. But if you say throw some error out of it or do not create, then you won't be able to create it. So I leave it blank because we might need it from demonstration. Okay, so let me just save this. This is important, but the planning version should be activated for the PPDS. system is quite slow. And by the time this guy is saving, let us go to the next step. So that is about setting up a model and version. Then we spoke about what is the basic setting that you need to ensure, because for the core interface, usually the settings are done by basis guys, but there are some additional settings that if you are interested, you should have an habit to check that the RFC connection should be set up, the logical naming convention should be in, the logical system should be assigned to the client. So this itself is a training in itself, right? How to set up the RFC connections and calls and so on. Okay, but so I'm not going in details here, but I have a question for you because that's a universal question. So please, someone explain me what is a logical system in terms of SAP systems. It has nothing to do with PPDS. It is generic. It is APO. You talk about PPDS, yeah, any other SRM, CRM systems. This is valid. So what is a logical system for SAP system? What is logical system as per your understanding? Dhanashri, can you hear us? So the question is, what is a logical system from SAP perspective?
Logical system is like a system, like means we are doing we are saving any data, then we are using the another system for which we are doing that as a logical system.
Exactly. So that's an address of every SAP system, right? Every
Yeah.
SAP client that you install. So that's an address to that, correct? And how do we know what is the logical system name is based on where is it? That bottom thing is gone. I don't see to show you the logical system name, by the way. But anyway, logical system is like if you go to say CFM1 for generating an integration model. Okay. It doesn't work, by the way, in this embedded system because as soon as you select the logical system name, okay, it will just disable all the options here because we don't have to save anything while it comes to embedded system. We have to just activate advanced planning. But this is the logical system name. So what is indicating is S4H is the identifier of the system, then client is 100. So this is the universal naming convention that is used all across. And the basis guys have to define it, have to connect the two systems with one logical system. So unless and until source and destinations are connected via some configuration, they don't talk to each other. So that's what this slide is talking about, that to send the data from one system to other between say APO PPDS and S4, you need to configure the safe and you need to assign the logical system name and set up the RFC destinations and all. Okay, so I'm not going in details here, okay, because that's not the context of the training. But whenever time permits, all of you have system access, correct? So search on internet, search on Google, or talk to your senior colleagues, and then try to understand because this helps. Although this is phasing out, okay, once the basis guys has done the job, while you are in the embedded PPDS, not many things have to be done because it's the same system practically, correct? But then I told you one thing yesterday that in general, there are multiple competitors coming up to SAP. Okay, so for this diagram that I showed previously, for this diagram, every step can be a different software. Okay, for demand planning, you might want to use O9 software. Okay, for ECC S4HANA, you might want to use SAP. For this network planning, you might want to use say JD Edwards. For the mid to long term planning and conversions and this PPDS part, you might want to use either PPDS or maybe go to Kinaxis. So in case there are multiple softwares coming up together, and then customers are also, taking advantage of better offerings. If something is costly, then they would go for the other. Okay, not that I recommend to go for such a multifaceted system, multi tools connected to each other, but you never know, you don't have a control. So in that text, the integrations play a lot of role, very very important role, correct? So for that purpose, you should know that how the previous integration used to happen. Unless you know the basics, you cannot improvise on the future, right? So that's the thing. For the data for the where is it, for the score interface settings, just try and understand what are the settings in your free time. Okay, fine. Then coming to the next, so model version thing, right? As I explained to you, model and multiple versions under that. This is it. Make a note of this. Make a note of this program. Okay, this let me see version copy program. So let me open that here. I think it should be part of one of your SNP jobs in case you are using it. So we have got version copy. This is the new program as far as I know. This is the old pair.
What does like change planning active in the model version management like signifies?
Which one?
Change
This one,
plan
right?
active checkbox will be there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So see, you will come across multiple such settings sometimes, correct? So you may not be able to remember that, and I don't recommend to remember. So I have a habit of going through the F1 help and understanding about that, right? But for PPDS thing, okay, what happens is some people do not want to use this system, activate this for PPDS. They might just want to use it for say reporting purpose because they have got the free license. Just imagine a hypothetical situation. Okay, but if you want to use this model and version, okay, this 000 version for your PPDS planning, then you would make the change planning active, correct? But in case you copy another version, you do not set this, so PPDS will not be impactful there, right? Even if you run something on that version, PPDS planning will not happen. So you just want that other version for creating some reports and so on. So in context, the meaning varies, right? When you enable the change planning for PPDS, it means that you are able to use this version for PPDS, correct? It's that way. Okay, and then I want to go to this PPDS program version copy pair. Okay, so sorry, why am I should execute it, right? So this program, we have to just specify that from 000 version to say any other version that you created in case you did. Okay, what if you want to copy only master data or master and transactional data, and if you want to filter it for some products and so on, you can do that. But I am pretty sure this program should be part of one of the job that you're scheduling under your SNP. Okay, in case you're supporting SNP system, because version copy is quite useful for SNP long-term planning, but for PPDS it may not be such useful. Okay, but you should know, okay, if I can do a version copy between one version to other version. I can create infinite number of versions, not recommended, but yeah, one or two versions is usual for long-term planning and all. Okay, so make your own notes somewhere, right after the call or anywhere, and just list down, because I am listing or I am explaining you most common mistakes that people do while the system comes to you. And then see, if you are supporting a PPDS system, you may not need to do this ever, because for support these things would be already in, and you are usually supporting a production system. Support means maintenance. But if you are implementing a PPDS, which is quite possible because a lot of customers are moving from regular PPDS or APO PPDS to this embedded PPDS. So in this case, they create multiple copies or the client copies of one system. So as soon as say you have one PPDS, you create a client copy. So all these things would be gone in the new copy. Okay. So you have to again set up the safe, again ensure that the activation is done. Perhaps activation can be retained, but you never know. Then you have to ensure that the model version is there. You have to see that the safe queues are flowing and all. So these are all the basic health checks that you do when you get a new client, and that is quite possible that you will face very soon. Okay, and this presentation would be there with you, and try to create it in a way that you just get the contextual topic list so that you know what to do around them. Yeah, the next step is to transfer the master data and enable target system independent settings. So transfer master data, we know that, I mean, this is going to be a case from here onwards, and we'll go through that. And the safe settings, okay, this I think I put up. Okay. And the last thing is actually modification of the data in the target system. So if you remember one diagram from yesterday, where is it? This one. Okay. So you do manage the master data on your source system, then you transfer system, then you complete that data and you manage the variants, etc. in the target system. So there are these four steps that go in, right? So I mean, in context of PPDS, your job does not end as soon as you transfer data, because on the resource on PPDS you might want to add some shift sequences, because the facilities to maintain additional data on the resource is much better within PPDS as compared to what you see in S4 side. And that is what we need to make sure that the data is complete that are utmost necessary. Okay, now next one, ATP categories for demand and supply. Okay, so let me go in here, SPRO. ATP categories is the basic difference actually, the way the planning system behaves as compared to your regular execution system. So let me see. I always get confused. Where is that ATP thing here? Do you see the global available to promise somewhere? Okay, never mind. Let me just search it. Okay, so before this thing opens, does anybody know what an ATP category is?
Sir, it is available to promise. We are checking that within the date and within the specific time we are going to deliver. We are going to promise our customer for our products. It is the part
Okay.
of GATP.
It is okay. Anybody else want to try? Just say it loud, guys. When you open up the heart, you get more space in the heart in the mind to absorb additional information. It helps
ATP
always.
is like, sir, it confirm the stocks, like if there is a sales order and it's under in ATP, then it's confirmed if there is stock available or not. Means that shows by ATP.
Close. Great. So basically, before I explain to you that, I'm taking a little diversion into explaining you one additional topic, which is called time series versus order series planning. Okay. Does anybody know about these differentiations? The planning engine can do two types of planning. If you are especially from IBP background, then you should know about it, because IBP first of all came in the market as a time series planning engine, and now they are upgrading themselves to order series planning engine. So who joined us last was working into IBP? Manoj, you have worked into IBP. Wasim into IBP. Can you tell us? Dhanashri, you are into IBP as well. Kshitiz as well. Tell us, what is your understanding of time series versus order series planning? And I'm not talking this in vain. I'm just I'll come explain you the context, right, against the ATP categories. Yeah.
Yeah, like time series based planning is with respect to the time buckets which we use it in APO. Like in the same way we are using it in the like IBP as well. But when it comes to the order series, like as long as your order exists in the system, so you'll be able to see that particular transactional data in the system. Once the order completion gets over, then that will be out of the system. It will go through the like different phases, right? So so that kind of
Okay.
difference.
No, you're great actually in that explanation. So what I sensed is you have your fundamentals clear about these differences. So it doesn't matter you could not explain in the first try in a perfect technical manner, but that's okay. Okay. So see, time and order series now for benefit of others. Take an example. Okay. Say forecast. Okay. So when we say forecast, what is the forecast? Out of those three elements that I shown you, okay, here, where is it? Okay, let me not go to the diagram, doesn't matter. Say I see that, okay, month 9, I am going to get a sales order of 100. Okay, so I create a forecast of 100, correct? So forecast is just a quantity, correct? It is nothing else other than the quantity, correct? Now, if some customers may be doing a planning at this, where is it? At the quarterly level, okay, or at the monthly level. In this bucket, I'm doing a monthly level. In this bucket, I'm doing a quarterly level. Correct. So the demand forecasting are operating in the month as well as in the quarter. Fine. So does it mean that it is still doing the forecasting per day in the weeks? Here it is required in the month. Here it is required in the quarter. Correct. So what happens in this case is forecast is just a quantity. So they might be creating a forecast at month level. Okay. When this month was here, right? So they would have generated forecasts like these 4 months that could be part of this quarter four. So simply someone would aggregate or copy the forecast of 4 months and show it as quarter month. But whenever this forecast would get into these weeks, then it would simply pick up the forecast of this month and disaggregate into these 4 weeks. Correct. You know this concept, right? Aggregation and disaggregation. Very, very powerful concept in terms of supply chain planning. Okay. Entire IBP and all other things, right? Supply chain planning things, tools are based on effective aggregation and disaggregation. So the point is, I have got some forecast. Okay, that is just the quantity, but I am easily able to spread it here and there and there and here, aggregate it and then send it across. I will never say that forecast belong to month 9, so it would only belong to week 5 or week 3 or so on. Usually, what we do in terms of demand planning is we do a equal disaggregation. So we just divide that forecast by 4 and say distribute it to all the 4 weeks which belong to month 9. Correct. That's how it does. Okay. So this forecast is called as the time series representation of the demand, because it is nothing but what it is, just the quantity in terms of time. Okay. You can, and the time series is what it has got. Okay. Granular level of times. Okay. Day level, week level, month level, quarter level, and so on. So you put the order at any time, you aggregate and disaggregate, spread it equally. It doesn't matter. But if I say a sales order, okay. So the sales order is a firm demand. It would be coming from some specific customer for a specific date, for a specific time, for a specific quantity. Correct. So when I say that I have got a sales order somewhere in the month 10, so it would be shown in month 10, but it will belong to a date. When I will bring that sales order to somewhere in these weeks, week 3 to 6, it will not be equally divided. It will be belonging to a specific week. And then when it goes to the days, it will belong to a specific day. So you cannot further dissect it, aggregate, disaggregate it. So it is an order, correct? So this is a firm order. Okay. So that sales order, it's a date and quantity of 100. This is not so simple, correct? So this is the basic differentiation. The time series based planning just operates based on quantities. They do not have a specific order number behind it or a specific date behind it. Whatever level you plan, you can aggregate and disaggregate and all other things. That does not belong to a specific thing. That is, so forecast is one such example. Okay. But order series one is all the orders, the firm orders. Okay. Whatever you create, it gets a specific order number associated with it. If you create a purchase requisition in this planning, it will have a order number and so on. So that's what we call as order series planning. And both these things are actually identified based on a specific categorization within APO. Okay, I'm not talking about IBP, but within PPDS. Okay, let's focus on PPDS. So all these type of orders, okay, whether it is a time series order or a order series order, okay, time series quantity or a order series order, they would be identified based on a specific category, a 2-character word. So that's the concept that SAP brought in. Okay, along with APO, and that's what we call as ATP category. So say if it's a purchase requisition, they call it as AG. This is an identifier. Now this AG itself, any order that you create as a purchase requisition, if you tell them that okay, AG is the category of the order, system will know this is a demand or supply. So the basic configuration behind identifying whether this is a demand or a supply, what I have to do around it, can I aggregate, disaggregate, all those things, that goes behind in the backend, right? So as soon as you create a ATP category, you also have to define the categorization and the features of this type, whether it is a demand, supply and all. Okay, but the planning engine very well understands it. Even if you go to PPDS global settings, okay, and I should go it there now. If you go to the PPDS global settings under SPRO, there also you define that, okay, consider these categories as demand, consider these categories as supply and so on. So under advanced planning, if you go to global settings, maintain global parameters and defaults, So see, first page, we'll see it later, but the second page says ATP categories, where all the receipt elements like supplies and all the requirement elements like demands that are specified. So if the category does not belong in here, these are coming pre-packaged, okay, by SAP. If it does not belong, or if you want to take out some sort of demand from demand as supply, supply as demand, you can do that while if you make some changes in the global settings. Okay, it's as simple as that. So this categorization is ATP categorization, and I want you to be very much comfortable with the ATP categories as we enter, because if you want enter into PPDS, because if you want to enhance the PPDS system, correct? If you want to create a report out of it, so you should know what categories belong to what, correct? And then subsequently, in a short time span of 6 months, you would get so used to it that you will always know EE is the plan order category, AG is the purchase requisition category, and so on. So that's simple. We don't use all of them. There are only few that are used commonly, and that's what would come. Yeah, fine. So any doubt so far? What we covered is the basic settings, integration settings, understood about PPDS, repeated about the supply chain planning, and now is the time to go to master data. We are a little bit delayed, but I think it's fine. So any doubt before I start doing a master data? Okay, even if you are not talking, but don't lie to yourself that you are focusing here. Okay, I mean, if you're on a mute, it doesn't mean that you can do something else. The moment we lose the focus, everything is lost, right? So please be focused, get the system today and get into it. Okay, fine. So now let us come back to the master data. And then yesterday I selected this one as mine. Now these boxes will be more, so I am going to take them out. You will tell me your boxes later. Okay, fine. So what are we trying to do now is start setting up the PPDS system basics, right? And we are starting from S4. What do we need? What master data we need? We need a location plan, correct? Because I am from this network, I am not focusing on DC also. We are not doing network planning, and so we will just take this out. Okay, this part is separate. We will do the plant. Okay, we will not have a dependent demand per se. We will have actual demand and plan independent requirement and forecast. So with these things, we will do. Okay, this forecast will generate the plan orders. Okay, and we or maybe we can create some plan independent requirements also. Okay, CIR will see if the basic configuration is there or not, and then we'll create a plan order. Okay, we'll try to convert into process or production order, and then finally we will vendor also we are going to take it out. Okay, I just don't want to overcomplicate the network, and it doesn't help anyway. Okay, so this is our network. Every one of you will have to select what is your plan, what are the materials, and rest of the things. Okay, so now again explaining that what I am going to do is one material. Okay, one plant. These are two things. Under this material, I want to create a bomb. Okay, that bomb will have two components: component one, component two. I hope you are able to follow it here. Practically, we will see it ultimately, but then these are very basics about the master data. But if you do not know, just buzz me out. Okay. So one plan, one material. Under that material, one bomb. The bomb will have two components. Under that, we would be creating either routing or recipe, whatever is feasible, possible. I mean, we can create both also. That's not a problem. And under this, we will be creating one operation two. Okay, and this is like not me only creating, you are creating as well. Okay, I will not proceed until you show me these things from your side. Okay, so operation one and two, and for this operation one and two, what we would need is resource one, and we would need resource two. So either resource or a work center. Okay, resource or work center name. Okay, so this is all the basic master data that would be required for us to set up the things. Okay, and this is still from S4 perspective only. Okay, S4 perspective. Now, yeah, sorry. Okay. So this is from S4 perspective. Now, when this thing would go back to PPDS, and that, I mean, we will not wait for entire thing to be set up and going. We will keep going there. So plant will become a location. Okay, material will become a product. The bomb and routing will not be. Oh, sorry, one thing I missed. It's the production version. Okay, so we'll create a production version which is combination of bomb plus recipe or routing, both of them fixed together. Correct. So the plant and location will be similar. Material and product will be similar. The bomb routing production version will not become these things. Okay, but that will become a PDS. Only one PDS, my bad. Okay. So material will become product. The component 1 and 2 will become the products as well. Okay, we do not have separate thing called component, but we will have product 1, product 2, because we don't differentiate between raw material and supplier. Yeah, so we will call them almost the same thing. Okay, then the production version will become a PDS. And finally, the resource or work center will become a resource or work center. Okay, I should have called out the resource and work center first, then the PDS, because PDS cannot go unless and until you have the resources in place. Okay, fine. So are you guys with me in this journey, or any doubt into this master data things? Guys, are you paying attention? Seriously?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. So now what I did yesterday is selected the plan called 1010 already. Okay. So just to repeat it very quickly, let me see where do the plant is shown is. I know the table here. I don't know where exactly the plant transaction is, but there is some transaction. Search on Google and let me know. But it's T1, T001 and T001W. So this transaction gives us the all the plants. No, sorry, not T001, but it is T001W. This is the company code one. Okay. So this is the basic configuration table in the backend where we'll see the list of plants that are created in the system. So we have got around 8 plants. Okay, you can create your own plant, figure out how do we create a plant, or you can use one of this plant, anything that goes with you. Okay, even if you select the same plant as me, it's fine, because the resources that we will create will be different. So your capacity consumption would be different than mine. Okay, that's not a problem. So I've selected 1010 as my plant. Okay, then there was one product called FG126 which I readily found, so I selected that. But before that, once you select 1010 as a plan, the way to transfer this under APO system, APO PPDS, is you would go to CFM1, right? Select the plan, put the plant here, generate the integration model, activate the integration model, and boom, it is available somewhere in PPDS. Fine. But when it comes to this embedded PPDS system, there is a specific program that has been given, and that program is create location program. Remember, or make a note, CRE star LOC star. This program has to be executed and scheduled at once. So you just need to specify your plant here, execute, and the plant is immediately available on PPDS site. This is the first step. Okay, I have done that already. So it would show, as shown yesterday, that the plant location already exists. Okay. This is the first step that you always do, that the location transfer happens. And the moment the location has been transferred, you go to your LOC transaction, usual LOC transaction under APO. Okay, go give the yellow 1010 and the plant is available here. First step. Okay, so you may skip this if you're using the same plant, or you might want to create a new one. That's no problem. Okay, but make a note of this new structure. You are not creating or generating integration model generation and activation. Now, there was a homework on some people's name yesterday. So I'll just pick up the third homework, which was on my name about Remodini. Because now we are talking about data integration. So I asked you this question yesterday, if any one of you know about Remodini as a concept. And the answer was nobody knows. Okay. So Remodini is a process which is helpful for the old way of working with the APO based PPDS. what we do in APO based PPDS, to transfer something, we first of all generate an integration model with transaction called CFM1. Then we activate the integration model with transaction code CFM2. And there are few other transaction codes like CFM3, 4, 5, 6, which are used to, display the integration model, delete the integration model, and so on. So you have around CFM6 or so, various integration models. Okay, fine. So you know about this thing, right? Generation activation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a third thing called Rymodini. Okay. CFM1, if you go in, this says create integration model, like generation of an integration model. If you go to CFM, can someone go on mute, please? Akib, you please. Okay. If you go to CFM2, then it is activate or deactivate integration model. If you go to CFM3, it is activate, deactivate in the background. Okay. This sequence is good enough, right? Then if you go to CFM4, it says display integration model. And if you go to CFM 6, it says change integration model. And then there is CFM 7 or 8. So 7 says delete integration model. So this is the life cycle of an integration model, right? From creation, generation, activation, display, edit, and deletion. Fine. But on top of that, there is this program called Rymodini. This Rymodini program is there is no transaction with it here. It may be there, but this says start initial supply for integration model. So what you do via this program is you specify the integration model name, logical system, and whatever application it is, and run it. Okay. So see, on a daily basis, whenever you are whenever you are generating an activation and integration model, okay, first time, it would send everything. Okay. So if the material is already sent, if the data for that material, say it's a material integration model, it is already sent to the target system. Next time, if that material has no change, then it would not try to resend it. Okay. Or for example, sales orders. Okay. So there is an integration model for sales order. You generated, activated the integration model first time in your life. Okay. But during implementation of the system, all the data from scratch has been sent. Okay. All the data. But next time when you send, it does not send what is already sent or where there is no change, because there is something called a change pointer generation within the systems, which identifies that what has changed from last thing, because every time you cannot keep sending everything again and again. Okay. And generation generally takes a lot of time, so you will not also want to generate it. You just activate and send it, activate and send it every day, the differential activation. So to avoid all those things, or sometimes if you want to send something which is already sent, but you don't want to, generate, activate the entire integration model again, you want to send everything from the scratch, the way it was sent on the day one. You run this program, specify the integration model name, whatever application it is, and you do the initial supply for that. It means that initially whatever was supplied, that again will go through. So this is very useful in case you see, okay, some settings are not activated. Okay. Or say there is still a difference, you're doing it multiple times, but there is still a difference between number of sales orders between both systems. So such cases are handled via this Rymodini. And I am 100% sure it should be a part of your regular job. Perhaps you may not have seen that. Okay. You may not, you may have just neglected it, but it is there. Rymodini. Okay. So are you good with it?
CFM9 is the T code for Rymodini.
That's the great thing.
Can you drive?
Yeah, it is there. It is the one. That's great. That's great. See, I always stopped at CFM 7 in my life. So see, I've been working into APO, but never realized there is a T code. I'm comfortable running it via program. So I also learned something today. So
Oh,
great.
we have seen actually in our project. So
Super. So you have been using it then. You knew about
yeah,
Rymodini.
we know about Remedy. Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Like there are jobs running, but not every day. Yeah, but on weekends, yeah, on a frequent regular basis.
Yeah. That's great. Guys, make a note of this thing. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
thank you.
very quickly. So I explained you this on 28th July 23. There was this question about discrete versus process industry, work center versus resource. Okay. So are you guys Ready with your answers, Ankit and Kshitij? If you can take two minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Who is it actually from name? It's Kshitij.
It's me, Ankit.
Yeah, Ankit. So your question is, what is the difference between a discrete and a process industry solutions? Yeah, please.
Yes. So in the discrete industry, we work with parts and all the items which is touchable or countable, uh,
Okay.
and that can be assembled.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and in the process industries, like we use operations, but
Mm.
we cannot count them like the raw materials or all. So
Mm.
we use boiling, combining, or any other thing which is not. And in discrete industry, we can backward the things to get the raw materials, but in process industry we will not able to do it. Like we cannot go backwards.
Great
And
example.
in
In
discrete,
yeah, go ahead. Go
yes,
ahead. Go on.
yeah, in discrete industry, we use bill of materials, and in process industries we use recipes.
Hmm. That's great. Any example that comes to your mind or you've seen example of
Yes,
this?
in discrete industry, yeah, in
Manufacturing of
discrete
cars.
industries we can have the laptop, like we
Mm-hmm.
can deassemble it by removing all the parts like monitor or anything, display and keyboard separately, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe a car.
Mm-hmm.
And for process industry, we can take example of any pharmacy, like tablets or anything, or we can take a example from food industry as well. Like we cannot get, if we making a chapati, so we cannot get flour from prepared chapati. So that is example like from day to day lives. So this is the process industry.
Hmm. Correct. So just to add to that, one example is say chocolate manufacturing. So you start with chocolate
Yes.
mass, which is like a cocoa powder and sugar and all mixed together. Then you
Yep.
take that to the next step, you add some flavor, take that to the next step, you add some cooling and all. So it is, if you just make that cooling too hot, you cannot come back to the previous. Or if you remove the you cannot remove the flavor once you add it, you cannot come back. So that is the process industry, right? So you go to the next step, you cannot come
Yes.
back to the previous step. You are processing the previous outcome to the next input. Correct. That's the one.
Yes.
And the discrete is, yeah, you can do disassembly. So it may not be necessary to follow that. It is possible to go back to the previous step there. So that's correct. Discrete versus process. An important thing that you mentioned is in discrete, you are going to use routing. You know, from a master data perspective, they create routing for discrete. And in case of process, they create recipe. Why? Because the recipe has some phases. Phases are like what sort of operation you are going to work on one of the resource and so on. So we'll see that in the master data. But that's a good example. At least you read about it a lot yesterday, right, Ankit?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I have
So
seen like
yeah, for
yeah. Yeah.
others
Continue.
is yeah. For others, did you guys understand discrete versus process industry difference?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
So
Yes,
both
sir.
Dhanashri and Urmila, you also unmuted yourself. You have a doubt?
No, no.
Okay. All right. Now, Kshitij, your term. Work center
Yes.
versus resource. So what could you read? What is the difference that you can tell us? Work center versus resource. Two sorts of
Actually,
master data.
Anil, to be honest, like I've read about discrete and process. I got the point. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like discrete basically like it's based on the plan orders, right? Production orders, and the manufacturing is based on production order, and in process industry it is typically based on process orders, right?
That's
So
correct.
like in I have read also about the master data setup, but I'm not exactly getting, why work center has been used in discrete and why resources has been used in process industries. I'm not getting exactly the whole point about it, like why we
Okay.
say like we have a different naming conventions. Uh, but yeah, on a higher level, I just understood this thing only, like
And
so can
that's perfectly fine, because it is not a hard rule that process industry will use only resource. They can also use a work center. And while giving that question, I knew about it because I had also searched at some point in time if there is a fundamental difference. So that doesn't work that way. Okay, I mean there is practically no difference. Okay, but I'll keep this question.
hello, Anil? I think cannot hear you.
Yeah, yeah, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
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 And you can see my screen as well, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, right. But I don't know till what time, till what thing you heard me. Uh, But never mind. Okay, Shitish, I am going to do one thing. There is practically no difference. And if someone says that you cannot use a process resource for discrete and vice versa, that is not true. I've seen people using it vice versa also.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there should be some technical differentiation, or there could be that enhancement that initially there was work center, now they came up with the resource as a tool. Okay, but I'll keep this on my name, and when the time comes I will explain some additional details about it. For now just keep it aside. It's good that you went over it, and you found the same thing that I found.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even like the question is more or less related to that discrete and process only. I'm getting whole lot of stuff about that only.
Absolutely.
So I've
Yeah.
read about it, which Ankit told basically. So, but I've not got this to I mean exactly what work center and resources, like why they have kept it categorized in those two industries.
Mm.
So
No, in fact, expected. In fact, you only suggested yesterday to assign to Ankit only, right? Because they are so related. They are so
yes,
related.
exactly.
Okay. Never mind. But then now let's go to the next step. We know about Raimudini now. Now I'm coming back to my master data. Okay. So let us check FG126. We need to at least finish up setting up the materials today. Actually, I mean, this is where we stopped yesterday and we again stopped today. There only, but could not help it. Okay. So see, the material that I have chosen is what? FG 126. Okay. That's correct, right? The material that I have chosen is FG 126 at 1010. Okay. So these MRP 1234 and advanced planning are the important tabs for us. Okay. Go in that. The way to transfer the materials to PPDS is you just have to go to the advanced planning tab within the material. Okay. Advanced planning tab and select this advanced planning active. The moment you save it, it is immediately available with embedded PPDS. You need not to create any integration model, generate activate part, nothing has to be done. Just make it advanced planning. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is for this, because we want to explain the few details. Okay, so I'm not going to select a material which is pre-existing. I have decided it is not our responsibility, but I like to face this challenge. Okay, so let's go to mm01. Okay, now there is a way to copy it. So I want to first of all select a SFG. Okay, so I'll go to any existing SFG raw material searching. So we'll go to MA table. Okay, and we'll see the material type. We have a material type somewhere here, right? This is the material type, because I cannot copy the finished good to as a raw material, correct? But I can, it's better I take the material which is of raw material type, correct? So hope you are following me, because you have to do this yourself also. So see, FERT is the material type for finished product, and there is one more for semi-finished good, SFG. Yeah, so HALP, semi-finished product, right? So I'll see if there are some semi-finished products. So there are so many. Okay. So I don't like these numerical words. I'll pick up anything which is different than the numerical, FG or alphanumeric or so on. So Okay. All of them are numeric only. Huh? I don't want to do this. Yeah, we have some. Okay, so I will select any material because anyway I'm going to copy it, right? So I'll select. No, but I can't select it also, right? Because I have to have a material which is available at 1010 plant, correct? Otherwise, it is difficult to copy. It is copied plant level. Okay, so I have an idea. What I can do is very quickly, I'll create a query between Mara table and MARC table. Okay, so Mara underscore MARC. And then let us create a query. Query is actually, this is transaction called SQVI, where you can combine two tables, because what I want is pass on the material, the location code 1010 and fetch the corresponding material type from Mara. Okay, both of them I'm going to combine. So you specify Mara Marci, do the table join, go inside. It's a good tool. And then you insert table. So first of all, I terminate it. Yeah, this Esporana thing, right? So people, they have not properly tested it, all the transactions. This is some SQL error. Anyway, no option. So let me go to MARC, pick up all the materials which are from 1010 to 45. Okay. There is no material type in MARC. That's the main thing. That is only available at material. Okay. So let us pick up these materials from here. What can I? No, this is the wrong way then. So let's convert it to Excel. I hope it works in this server. You guys are following me, right? What I'm trying to do, the process and why.
Yes.
You have to do it today, all of you. I'm simply trying to pick up a raw material which is available at 1010 because I want to create two raw material which I'll be assigning to to as a component to my finished good. There are multiple raw materials available. I'm sure some of them would be via 1010 also, but I want to still give it a try and create new raw material 1, raw material 2, so that I can make easy context out of it. You can try to do it this way to gain an experience about how to create copy a material, or you can select the existing raw materials and materials from your chosen plant. No issues. Hey boy, this is not going to work, it looks like. Okay, forget it. I am just going to give it a random try now. Okay. So create material, copy from. Okay. Material by material type. Do you see it somewhere? Material by material group, class, material by material type. Perfect. But I also wanted material with the plant. So let us pick up any of the material from the bottom. This is Okay, let's pick up this wheels 77 material. Okay, so this is now I'm going to call as component 1. Sorry, component 1. Industry sector is chemical. Material type is semi-finished good. Okay, and copy it from 77. I need to select some views. So I'll select MRP 1, 2, 3, 4 and advanced planning and say okay. So plant is 1010 and copy it from now. I don't know the plant. So let's see. It allows. Yeah, it worked somehow. So I'm able to copy that 77 to component 1 that 1010. For time being, I'll just do the basic settings, whichever is required. Make sure that you go through MRP type X0. Okay. Make sure that you go through all the required things. Reorder point is 1. MRP controller is 001. Time fence is 15. We have to go through the settings as well. Okay. For now, I'm just selecting random. That's no issues. But I'm whatever is there, still it is a logical number. Lot sizing procedure is 01 or what is on S4 site? AFX. No. Lot for lot. Okay. MRP4. Advanced planning is for now is not set up. Okay. So let us save this material. Hope it saves, and then that way my component becomes comp1. Okay, and second one would be comp2. These are two component materials that I have for FG126. Okay, now similarly I'll do the comp1 to be copied to comp2 because I want two materials, right? Again, select the same views. Perfect, but it did not copy the settings. I think MRP settings are product specific, so it does not copy. Okay. Fine. Focusing on the main uh, tabs. Okay. So let's go to MM02 now. Okay. And if you go to comp1, oh, it did not create the other views at all. I should have selected all of them. Now, how do I do that? Okay, let's try if we are able to send it, but it is usually have a side effect. No, I can't use it this way. Let me create completely new MM01 RM ROM at 1. Okay, create it from 77 and I would select all the views. Okay, 1010. Okay, the only issue here is you have to actually practically go through all of them, right? Sales org. So wherever you click, only those get created. Okay, these are not necessary. Let's jump on to MRP1. Fine. And what else? We perhaps would be needing something for forecasting, plan data, work scheduling. Okay, forecast we don't want to generate, correct? So all these tabs, they belong to specific module, like warehouse belongs to extended warehouse management and in general S4, accounting, costing for FI and CO modules, correct? So that is why I am just trying to skip over them and that's fine. My important modules and the basic modules should be in. Okay, so is there a detail scheduling related module again? Yeah, I think quality I want again. Okay, and then let's save. Okay, and then verify whether the material got created correctly or not. Just left with 9 minutes, guys. See, so now all the views are in. Okay, this is good. Now let me quickly copy raw material 2 from raw material 1. Okay, select all the views, go in. Classification, I skip. See, and in general, it is asking us to enter the required settings only in MRP views. That's what is required for PPDS, okay, not for everything. This is still not set up, okay. Okay, so now let's save it. Okay, so I have created 2 raw materials for myself. Okay, now if I go to PPDS and check it in PPDS, do I have the raw material 1 and 2? It is not there. Okay, and raw material 2 also it's not there. So let us just quickly do that setting in MM02 to send the raw materials to PPDS. Okay, and advanced planning. Clicked here, enter 2 times. It says now active for planning and say okay. Okay, and then let's do the same thing for raw mat 2 also. Okay, so now I should find both these materials here. It is immediate transfer. If it does not, then something is fishy. Now see the material is here, product description has appeared, material 2 and material 1, both of them. Correct. We forgot to change the description, but we'll do that subsequently. Okay. So the material gets transferred. So this is the way that you first of all created and transferred the material to your PPDS system. Now your job would be to either create or find or do whatnot. Okay, because there is no limitation on your creativity out there. I would prefer if you create, then you have more control and then you go and touch base the material master settings in more precise way. But the next step would be, now the plant material is created. Okay, plant material is created. So now we would be creating either a resource or work center in the next session, because we want to go and create a bomb routing. I forgot to mention about the bomb here actually. Okay, so we'll be creating a bomb and routing in the next session. For that purpose, we would need to have the resources and work centers first of all created. So now, because I decided to create 2 operations within my routing or recipe, I will create 2 resources or work center, whatnot, whatever it can be. Okay, and then assign them under my routing. I'll create a bomb parallelly for this material with these 2 components and combine both of them and create a production version so that I can transfer it as a PDS. So your task would be to identify material plant and then just create your network. You need not to follow me. You can have 10 components, doesn't matter. The more efforts you put in, the more complicated your PPT schedule would be and the better for your understanding. Or you can have just one component, it is fine, that's no problem, but at least create this basic, at least 1 or 2 is good enough, at least. Okay, fine. Now next step is for us, before I create the resources and work centers, I mean ideally we wanted to actually arrive at the production version level today, but then we could not. So it happened because we had to repeat things. We had to, put in 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes into it. So next time onwards, we may not be able to repeat things. So please try to be on time. and come prepared. Read something about it. These recordings would be whenever it is available. Run through it in a 1.5x speed in case you want to save some time, right? And go through the documentation, the presentation that would be available as well. Yeah. Okay. So now we still have got 5 minutes. Any question, please? Anybody? Otherwise, I want to go in details about the product master settings because we haven't literally gone at the product master settings, and that is at most necessary that you understand at least the basic settings within product master, especially in these 5 tabs. Okay, settings like MRP type, planning time, fence, lot sizing procedure. Okay, and then everything else that follows. Okay, so are you guys with me? Just be on mute.
Yeah,
I think.
Anil, I have a question. In like APO independent APO system, we have like only like in ECC, we have only MRP 1 and 2 tab, and in S4 we have 3 MRP 1, 2, 3, and 4. So
No,
are
no,
they
no,
different or
no. Even ECC system has MRP 1 to 4 tabs. Your the
actually I have never seen the MRP 2, 3 and 4 tab actually. So that's
MRP 1, 2, 3, 4 is generic. See, nothing has changed on that side. You may your current customer may not be requiring anything, so he did not generate those views. Okay, see, these are all different views. So under one table, we you may not need extended SPP, for example. So you will not generate it. I mean, I made that mistake in front of you, right? I just generated MRP
yes,
1, 2,
yes.
3, 4. Nothing got generated. So that's the case. But MRP 1, 2, 3, 4 are there everywhere.
Okay.
Try and see it. Yeah, it is there for sure.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay. You can create the material on your own. That's a better way actually. Anything else?
Yeah.
Any other question is? If no question, then I'll still use the last 3 minutes and explain to you some things because this is must for you to know. And we may not be able to go through all fields, but the important fields must. Okay. So on the MRP1 tab, we have base unit of measure. This is required. Okay. If you especially do the long-term planning, then people sometimes want to see it in different units. So this base unit is important. That is given. But the MRP type, okay, most important part. You must be knowing MRP type as a filtering criteria in case you're using the APO, correct?
Yes.
Because in APO, while you generate and activate an integration model, generate, activate like CFM1, you will have to specify that, okay, I just want to take the materials which belong to say X0 material type to the next system. Correct. So that is used very well as a filtering criteria. MRP type has no significance in the planning system, but it is just used as a filtering criteria. While it comes to this EPPDS, embedded PPDS, we are not filtering the product master based on MRP type because you just set the advanced planning relevancy and transfer. Then how come this MRP type help for us? So it helps for the convergence of the order. Okay. See, when we say X0 MRP type, it says without MRP with bomb explosion. It means that even if you are running MRP as a tool within S4 on these materials, it will not do anything because you have specified the configuration for this MRP type as don't run MRP. Okay, so this is very much useful from S4 perspective. Say for example, you have got 10,000 products, out of which 5,000 you want to plan within IBP. So you would call them as X0 MRP type so that even if you are running a MRP tool within S4, it will not consider those products because you have specified that it is without MRP. Similarly, there are some other settings of MRP type. For example, if the order arrives for that MRP type, so you can specify that, okay, the order should be automatically firmed as soon as it arrives in the planning time phase of 15 days. You can specify that. So all those products which will belong to the specific MRP type, they would be automatically firmed during that time and so on. Okay. So these are some of the significances of MRP type. Okay, so we will stop now because this is a vast topic. I will not begin with the new thing. It's the time. So tomorrow we will not be able to repeat, but what we would do is we will start from here. I will show you the configuration of MRP type. Followed by we will understand planning time frames, lot size procedure, how does it work, what is the rounding, minimum maximum lot sizes, what is their impact, and subsequently we will see all other important fields within these 5 tabs. Okay, and then I'll go and set up the resources, work centers, then bomb routing, and then at least the expectation is by tomorrow evening, tomorrow end of the day class, we should be ready. At least we should be ready with the PDS, right? Because when PDS is ready, we are good to start with the demand from Monday onwards. Okay. All right. Fine. So
Yes.
any other question, doubt, or modification, if you have, let me know, right? Or you can let the training coordinator know later, and it will be passed on to me. But otherwise, I would expect all of you to set up your system, identify your materials today, and then come on time tomorrow. Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Fine.
Even
Thank you
the
then.
work scheduling tab is also important, right? In purview of
Work
PPDS.
scheduling. In what context?
No, I mean to say like the important tabs in with respect to PPDS. No, I'm just asking.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, what's in the work schedule? No, it's not necessarily actually. Yeah, because
I
what
thought
settings
it's
we have, the base unit of measure, production unit, and so on. So yeah, it could be an influencing factor from a planning perspective. You're right.
yeah.
Okay,
That's
let me go through it and
because
tell you.
yeah, it's a part. I thought like it may be related to details. I mean scheduling part. So
Well, from the word, it does not connect. I mean, it's not the detailed scheduling word, but see, I'm looking at the important fields out there, but none of them hits production schedule profile is one of them. Fine, let me explain to you tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let me explain. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
sure. Okay, guys, then thanks a lot and talk to you tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thanks.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.